Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about loops. Now there's three different types of loops that we're going to cover. First of all, we have a for loop, we have a do while loop, and we have a while loop. In this video we're going to be covering the while loop because it's probably the easiest loop to understand, so it's the best one for us to get started with. We've covered conditional statements and operators before. These loops that we use will combine our knowledge of our conditional statements and our operators from our previous videos, but we'll be able to bring them all together to allow our JavaScript programs to do something a little bit more useful than a simple example. Now for this video we'll be going through simple examples with for loops, but you should be able to start coming up with ideas and ways of how you can bring all these together to create some useful application. So I'm going to start off by creating a new file, and I'm going to call my file whileloop.js. In this video we're going to be using our while loop to go over some task or get the computer to perform some operation multiple times. So for example, if we wanted to print out the message hello Ryan or hello world or any message at all, traditionally what we'd have to do is we'd have to write that code however many times we wanted to. So for example, let's say we wanted to write hello to our console window down here 3 times. We would have to write console.log hello. So you can see that I wrote console.log hello once here, and if I go and run this, we can see hello. If I want to perform this operation 3 times, I would have to write the code 3 times like this. And if I go and run it, we can see that we get our output as hello, hello, hello. Now, this is a simple example, but we can actually use while loops or loops in general to semi-automate this process. So let's say, for example, I wanted to change that message from hello to hello Ryan. I would have to change that in this string, I would have to change it in this string and this string. So with loops, we can have it in one central location, so we only have to change it in one place, and it'll be effective throughout the rest of our program. So let's jump into an example of a while loop, which might help you understand what we're going to do here. Now, before we start using our while loop, we're going to use this concept of a counter. And a counter is just going to keep count, like the name suggests, of what stage we're at, okay? So we could have a counter, and we'll set the counter to 0, because when we start something, we usually start at 0. And there's something that we want to get to. So for my example, I wanted to print out the number 3 times. So I'm going to have some variable containing the number 3. So I'm going to just say num equals 3, because in this case I want to print it out 3 times. Now, to make sure that we're carrying out proper JavaScript syntax, we can put the keywords let or const before our variables. So I'm just going to put let. It doesn't actually matter for this example if you choose let or const. So now we get into the interesting part, and that's the actual while loop. So similar to like our if statements or any of those, you remember me saying that we have keywords. So with our loops, it's something similar. So we have another keyword, and this keyword for this particular while loop is called while. So if we type while, and then we want to put 2 round brackets, similar to our if statement, and we want to put a condition in here. The condition that we want to check would be to see if our counter is 3, because if our counter is 3, we no longer want to loop through or repeat the same task. So if I said while the counter is less than num, so this is basically the same as me saying while 0 is less than num, which is 3, so while 0 is less than 3, and what's going to happen is we're going to increment our counter. So by increment I mean we're going to add 1 to it. So then the next time when we go and check this, it'll be is 1 less than num, and then I'm going to increment it again, and it's going to be is 2 less than num, and then we're going to get to a stage where we're going to check to see if 3 is less than num, and 3 isn't actually less than num. So 3 isn't less than 3, it's equal to 3. So what would happen then is we would no longer go into our while loop, and we would finish our program. So as you can see, there's a red squiggly line here, at the second bracket, so that usually means that we're missing something. So we're missing our curly brackets. So I'll put 2 of those in there, and we'll just bring that on to the next line to make it a little bit clearer. And now we want to perform our operations. What we actually want to see or let our program do will go inside these curly brackets. So I'm just going to console log hello. So now we want to run this and see what output we get. We're not actually going to get our desired output because we've forgotten to do one thing, but I just want to show you this. So we're going to run this, and you can see that we see a lot of hellos, and these are actually continuously generating new hellos. So we're going to stop this program here, and I'm going to explain exactly what happened. So what happened here was our counter was equal to 0. So we were checking to see if 0 is less than num. So is 0 less than 3? So that's true. So we go inside our while loop and we console log the message hello. And then after we've console logged our message hello, we go back up to this while loop again and we check to see if our counter is less than num. So our counter is still 0. So is 0 less than 3, which is num? It is. So we go back inside this while block and we print out the message hello. And this keeps happening because counter is always 0. What we need to do inside our while block is to increment our counter, so to add 1 to our counter. Otherwise, this program is going to go on forever. It's never going to end, and it's just going to keep printing out hello all the time. And you can see there's many lines of code that just says hello. And that's not what we wanted. We wanted to just see hello 3 times. So we're going to go and increment our counter. So on the following line after our console log, we're just going to state counter. And on the following line, we're going to just write counter plus plus. And counter plus plus is just a shorthand way of adding 1 to the counter. You'd have learnt this in some of the previous videos. You could also do counter equals counter plus 1. And this would give you the exact same output and the same result. But I just think it's a little bit cleaner if we use counter plus plus. It saves us typing out a little bit of code, and I think it looks neater. So if we go and run this again, we'll see that we get hello displayed out 3 times. I'd suggest that you play around with this program a little bit. So maybe you want to put in a different message. So we know that we can put anything we want in here. This is just displaying out a message. So we could say hello Ryan 3 times. We could also say maybe the variable in here. So rather than displaying out a message like hello or hello Ryan, we could actually display out the counter itself. So we could see what exactly is going on. So if we go and run this, we can see the numbers 0, 1 and 2. So by doing this, we can see that first of all our counter is 0 and it's printing out 0. Then 1 is added to it. So then when we go in here, our counter is printed out as 1. Another 1 is added to it. It's printed out as 2. Then when another 1 is added to it and our counter is 3, it doesn't actually go inside this loop. So the counter does get to the number 3, but it's never executed inside this loop while the counter is equal to 3. And you can change these numbers around. So maybe we don't want to use num, maybe we just want to use the number 3. So we're going to get the exact same result here, but just know that you can use numbers in here. And if we're using 3 there instead of num, we don't actually need the variable num, so we could actually delete that. And we can run that again and you'll see exact same result. We need to keep our counter because we need something to be able to increment and keep track of our program and to know when we want to finish executing.